Actually, the truth is so simple that the most basic questions are the important ones. When they start to become complex, then they
I'm
know.
sure these questions would have been asked and you must have answered.
Oh, well, that is a difficult project. If you want to find a question I have not been
No,
asked,
I have the questions. I have the questions.
Please ask.
So, after hearing a satsang, I got the idea that the mind is the thief and the mind is where the problem lies, and I'm quite okay. And I reconcile with that, and the thoughts you open and to your thoughts, your mind, that's fine. I'm struggling with where to go to, and you say that you be in the God's light, in the God's presence, or the Atma, or the Sadguru, or Krishna is there in your living room. Being an atheist or agnostic, I kind of can't reconcile with these sentences, you know. And even if I understand very well that may not be a God, but you're trying to say something else, but I just don't know how to do that. Whether how to live very hard or how to what is intuition, but everything goes to the mind for any answer. So how to go away from the mind? Uh, either there can be two things. One, I blind faith I have in what you say that there is a God out there and you just be there, or is there a way that I can follow a path or get a glimpse of it? That what is this I am without the body and the mind? You know.
Yes.
So is there a way to do it, or because I'm lost there?
That's very good. Very good. Thank you. That's a good question, actually. So, you say that, and already this is a great step. You say that you figured or you understood from listening to Satsang that the mind is the trickster. It has got us involved in a notion of a self which doesn't really exist. You also say that when I point to that which is beyond the mind, and I say God or Krishna or whatever, as a atheist or as a agnostic, you feel like can't relate to those things. But can we find without the mind? Are you an atheist?
Without the mind, I don't see anything else. What else is there for me to look at if the mind is
Yes,
not?
but without the
Beyond
mind.
the body and the mind, I don't know what's there.
Yes, but without the mind, can you make a referential conclusion about yourself saying I am an atheist?
No.
Is it?
No.
So you're empty even of that label,
Well,
isn't it? But can you confirm that you are without the mind?
no.
You without a thought telling you that you are, it is not apparent to you. Is that what you're saying?
I need the mind to say that I am an atheist or not.
Yes, but what about to see that and see not in terms of sight, but like an inner sight or an inner knowing? We'll worry about how you say it later. But to recognize it,
Sorry.
don't worry, we'll go slowly. You may be right for the moment saying that to convey that I exist, I need the labels from the mind, isn't it? But what about to know that I exist?
Probably because I can't relate. Probably because I have a body and a mind, therefore I'm saying I'm existing.
Yes. But did you need a thought to confirm that? Like right now, are you here? Are you here?
Yeah, I don't have to think about it.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't have to think about
You
it.
don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
So, what is that knowledge which is primal, more primal than thinking? So, this is already very beautiful. You say to, to confirm that I exist, even though the words may be coming from a mental place, but the recognition is independent of my thought. I don't have to think. You see, I am. I know that I am. You see, what mode of knowledge is that?
I mean, I could label it because of the experience of the past that I know that I exist if I'm saying without thinking.
Yes, but in what way do we know? Most of our knowledge is perceptual or conceptual.
Right.
Which kind of knowledge is this?
Probably a combination of both.
See, verify for yourself. Now, do you exist? Now. You see, and if you want to go deeper into the experiment, say that suppose sight left you, hearing left you, taste left you, touch left you, smell left you. At which point did you lose the self-knowledge that I am?
I get what you're saying.
Don't go to the place where you're going for the answer because you feel like you're a bit like on the spot or something like that, or you need to know. Don't worry about it. It's a very relaxed conversation. We've made beautiful headway already. You said to confirm, at least to myself, or to recognize that I am, I don't need to think. You see? Then we said, okay, is it perception? And I'm questioning, saying, if all this perception was also not there, you still confirm that I am, I exist. Or you tell me with which perception are you confirming it? Is it sight, sound, taste, touch, smell?
It's like you're asking somebody, are you breathing? You know that you're breathing. You don't have to know your breath is going in and out to know it's breathing. So it's similar.
Really? So if I asked you, are you breathing? And you took that question sincerely, what would you do?
I would breathe in.
You would check the perception of it. Or you would just think and say, what kind of absurd question is there that I am breathing? So at least you would need to think, or you would need to check the perception of it.
Right.
Now, for your self-knowledge that you are, which one are you using?
Yeah, no.
Neither of these. This is very beautiful. So there is a mode of knowledge which is beyond perception and beyond conceptualization, which confirms your existence to yourself. So this one that is here, in the same mode of knowledge, what can we say about it? So this conversation now is no longer basic, it is almost the final question.
I don't know how to describe it. You're saying something which is beyond perception and conceptual.
Yes.
What is this? How do you know that this is?
I'm saying that you already confirmed it is I. You said I am, isn't it? It doesn't confirm the existence of a neighbor or a friend, one sitting next to you. You are sure it is you. See? Now, this you, what else can you say about it? Does it have likes and dislikes? It's okay, take your time. Don't revert to the mind. You're doing very well. Take your time.
I would have to relate to the mind to say it has likes and dislikes, or to the body.
I'm tempting you to not relate to the mind and give me an answer. So you're encountering two tempters right now. The mind will tempt you with knowledge, saying, I have to do some inference, some logical conclusion. And I'm also tempting you, saying, don't go there. Let's see if you can discover another mode of knowledge. You see? Already we are in very absurd territory because you're already confirming something which is not perceptual or conceptual. You see? To the world, that sounds like hocus pocus business. And maybe to anyone who's an atheist also few weeks back, like that. So already you are in territory which is mostly uncharted in humanity. You're confirming something which you cannot see and you don't have to think. Now, this one that is being confirmed, does it have a quality, a color, shape, size? Is it in time? And you said that this is you. It is you. And if it doesn't have a yesterday and tomorrow, it cannot have worry, regret. We can also do the other exercise to say, okay, if this one doesn't have a past and future, and none of the thoughts we think about really apply to this one, then who is the one to which they apply? Can you find such a one? Can't find. So, one, the ego does not exist and therefore cannot be found. The self and its manifest aspect, the being, is all that exists, and also it cannot be found perceptually or conceptually, but it can be known, and this knowledge is Atmagyan. This knowledge. And this is the same knowledge where you know love. Independent of the emotion you may be experiencing at a particular time. This is where true insight is. Is it experienced at the moment like a presence, or what is it experienced like? Pure emptiness, or is it like a blank? One of the tricks of the mind is to produce a blank and then say, that blank is me. Is it like that? So, can you try to stop being right now? So, this being, is it different from the one that exists? That the one you confirmed earlier? It's okay. We're going really fast. We can slow down. Do you have a problem here? Is there a problem? Like any sort of problem or worry? Is the world continuing to function? And what I mean by that is that everything that perceptions have to bring to us are still perceived, isn't it? Naturally. What question can remain after this one? Because you said you have a lot of questions.
No, I'm still, but
Yeah.
I'm still not totally
Yeah.
clear on this
Yeah.
topic.
What would clarity mean? Like, what would clarity look like?
I understood what you said, that there is an I, or there's a being without the perception and the conception. Is that right? I get it.
Yeah. The process of recognition and the process of making that an understanding, were they the same or were they two different ones?
So now it's clear to me the understanding which was not there before.
Yeah.
Without the
So the
perception.
question is very subtle. Let me repeat it. So the recognition that you are, or you can confirm or recognize that you are, independent of thought and perception, is that the same as what you're calling that I have the understanding now? Because what I want to guide you is to say that only stay in the recognition, not in the understanding. You see, the instant we make an understanding out of this, then it becomes conceptual again. So these are very subtle tricks. So
Yeah.
mind will say, good progress. You understood this now, abhi, like that. So, but notice that recognition, the instantaneous recognition, is independent of that whole conceptualization. So the mind will tempt you back into its version by saying, "हाँ, समझ गया. This is how it is." Like that. So don't worry about that. Okay. As we go along, you can ask more anytime.
You mentioned it beyond space. Beyond time is, you should know that. It's beyond time.
And you have to check, my dear. Very difficult to speak about these things. So that which you are, can you find any duration about it or some age about it? Is it undergoing a process of change? Like time is only inferred through the perception of change, isn't it? Like in these movies, they say time stops means everything stopped changing. So we say time has stopped. So time is the inference based on some change being perceived, even if that change is a thought itself.
So beyond time is not no time.
Yeah.
It's not time is time.
Beyond time is timeless. There is like the notion of time is absent.
Like no dimension to it, so no time.
Yes, but don't infer that. I hope you're not inferring that. And you don't have to rush into these insights. You see, when they come from here, they're meant to just seed something in you. But you have to wait for the insights to sprout within you intuitively. With the reassurance that how is it that all those who come to this say the same things? So, because otherwise the mind will attack you very strongly. Already, if you're saying that and beyond space is apparent to you, that already is so beautiful.
Is it possible to try to get these insights, like more the further ones?
No. You cannot try intuitively, because that's like saying grasp intuitively. You can only try to grasp at concepts. You cannot grasp intuitively. Chanda's question is gone. Say something. Yeah. Because yeah. Something bothering you, or
Yes. Yes, without that we spoken.
louder? It's about what I spoke and
Yeah, we spoken the other day about
other day.
staying here. We spoke a little bit with the other people. The first round was very bad.
Yeah.
And yeah, just very bad. I don't know. It's just somehow we have some emotional. But somehow it's maybe I want to your help on this somehow the feeling that I want to. If you're speaking about time, like I want to give the time I need to clarify with you, even if it takes 1 minute or 2 minutes, 1 week or 1 month, I don't know. So this is, so I don't want to have the issue of time somehow right now. And if it's possible, I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if it's possible.
Okay.
But
What does God want? Is it because between not wanting to hurt someone and not wanting to miss an opportunity, you're getting crushed between these two things? But your will either way is unimportant. What does God want? What is the way to meet God's will? Do you have a sense of this? Because
yes.
what is that? The way to go meet God's will is one, to meet it moment to moment and allow the presence to unfold naturally. That is the very, very simple, straightforward one. And the second is, if you feel guided from the heart by the holy whisper, by the Sadguru presence inside, then follow that. If the second is not there, just be in the first. To be in God's light is to also be in God's will. It's not two separate things like, okay, now I'm in God's light. Now, what do I do to follow it? No. If you're in God's light, that is God's will. God's light is only possible when self-will is absent. And self-will is a fancy word. Basically, I'm saying, ask yourself, what do you want? What do you want? That is self-will. So be empty of that. And I've been kind of choppy about this one, where I notice a lot in spirituality also, many of us get stuck in that. No, I don't feel that. I feel this. But what is it a true intuitive feeling, or is it a conceptual idea? And many times we started to couch our words in the terms of feel instead of think. So we have to be very careful about that. So can you become empty or remain empty as you are in this moment? Empty of this way or that way. That needs some trust. Trust. What is trust? Or faith? It is the absence of self-concern. Are you able to hear? It's the absence. Good to have you back. Welcome.
So the last thing.
Really, you see? Or you're
No,
being
yeah.
commenting? No,
No,
okay.
I'm not joking.
Not joking.
No, the last thing you said.
I said you have to be empty of self-concern.
Yes. But do you ask me something?
Are you able to hear what I'm saying? Because many times
Yes.
when the mind is attacking us, we are not able to hear also.
Yes. In that point, yes. No.
So empty of will, like individual will. Now, because on one hand, these both are individual will. You don't want to hurt her. You also don't want to miss the chance. So what does God want? And when we can't say what God wants because we haven't heard it intuitively, then our only option is to live moment to moment in the light of God. You see? There's a fear that way also. What if living moment to moment in the light of God, I'm booking my tickets back to Italy, then I feel like I missed the chance. You know? And then if you say, oh, just moment to moment, I spent 5 years in India, my partner wants to kill me, you know? Then that can be fearful. So just be empty of both those conditions. You don't know what any of this is. And you don't know what all of this is meant for, how it will turn out. You don't know any of that. And you can't know. Unless God has told you here. So let go and be with God.
So any act without concerning or without even thinking or without even perceiving anything about the result. Is that the living in or living in open and no result in mind?
If you're in no mind, if you're in the unborn, if you're open and empty, yes.
So anyway, it will be the God will on relevant to whatever results. There is no point in even anticipating anything.
Yes.
Just the flow.
Definitely no point speculating.
Look for intuitive guidance or God's will anytime. And I use the word look. Is that in some ways isn't it triggered by a thought or or a non-intuitive question of some
Yeah,
kind, and then separating the question and not getting caught up in the mind versus waiting for the answer.
let's make it simpler. So, if I told you find out what your wife wants, what would you have to do? You'd have to go close to her, come in her presence, and say, "What do you want?" In the same way, to understand what God wants, you have to come into the presence of God. Isn't it? To come into the presence of God is impossible under the hypnosis of the mind. By one thought, and you're not taking yourself to be that, you're taking yourself to be an object in the world. So God's presence is out of the window. You see, that's not possible. Seemingly, in reality, we can never leave. But the seeming is what Satsang is here to fix. Reality is unchanged. The seeming idea of a limited self or distance from reality, you see, is what Satsang means. To come into the presence of the truth is for. So, how to find out what God wants? The mind may say, but even to find out that, you need me. It is not possible to come into God's presence with belief in that. And empty of that, God's presence is apparent. Now, whether you call it God's presence, or to look at Achal's question earlier, whether you look at it as I amness, which is boundless, which is just another way of saying God, it's the same thing.
What is when you say how to act intuitively? I've never done that. So how? What is there to do intuitively? You
Yeah.
always use the mind. So how do you get you empty out and then do something intuitively?
Like you noticed that your hands were moving just now. Did you think about moving them? How did that action happen?
Right.
Empty of thought, like your head was nodding, empty of thought also movement happens externally. What intelligence does that? It's the same intelligence which is running the millions of processes, apparent processes in this body.
That's in bodily actions. What about planning and thinking ahead?
So, from when you get used to this living from the heart, then you will also notice yourself saying, let's have a satsang on this day, or let's not do this. It'll come. First, we have to get used to being empty. You see, and that takes some faith, because the mind will scare us and say, what will happen? What will happen? Nothing will happen. So, especially if you feel like I am doing a lot, this can seem a bit difficult initially, to let go. But you feel like everything will fall down like a house of cards or something. But it may seem like a strong reminder, but death is coming. All this is going to stop anyway.
It's like trying to describe this. It's like this sense of I'm doing, I'm feeling.
Do you mean the sense of or the thought of?
Sense.
Show me what it feels like.
So in the presence of God, it doesn't seem strong. It's just an appearance.
What does it appear like? Like, does it have a shape? What is
It feels more appearance, meaning that my location becomes observing of this movement, which is talking, doing, and thinking, talking.
Your location when you are in God's presence
Yeah.
becomes that of the observer.
Yeah.
And when you're not in God's presence, what is your location?
Then there is the sense like I'm gonna pick this up, I'm gonna say this. There is the sense, and it feels real.
Yes. Try to have a moment and see if you notice any moment where it seems real without the hypnosis of a thought. This really is the master key. You see? The mind will tell you, no, it's just energetic. But it's not. Because there is no problem in any pure perception except under the influence of belief in a thought. The seeming individuality, the seeming of the limited self is not possible without belief or identification with a thought.
You mean the thought which comes after, which says, "Oh, which
This is how you
describes
were."
which describes everything."
Yeah. And then, so the thought and the imagery, which may say, this is how you were. But you may talk to a friend later and they may say, no, but you were fine. Yeah. So memory is also a very unreliable instrument.
For example, like during satsang, to say something, I'm gonna move my hand like this.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem as solid as when, let's say,
Yeah, not in satsang.
yeah.
Try to make that not seem or make it seem solid outside satsang without a thought. You can't speculate about it. You must make a note at that moment, send me a WhatsApp message or something. I did it.
Because I'm trying to also
Yeah.
pick myself up. Is it like that? Yeah.
This way, especially because you're so attentive right now, it won't happen. No? So, when you see and you feel like something like that is possible without a thought, you took yourself to be a limited entity just because perceptions were a certain way, then you send me a message and say, I did it.
Because also it was quite an issue for me with this one.
Yeah.
So it would be a strong
No, right, go on. Yeah.
a strong, not a strong, but let's say the recognition of, no, I'm none of that, and not just the words, but an experience, and then next moment might be with the same sense. Oh, but there is still this desire of the right.
Okay, so let's look at it. Tell me the difference between pure perception, you see, and the recognition that I'm none of this.
Say it again.
The difference in pure perception. You're just perceiving everything openly without labeling, versus what you're calling the experience that you recognize that you're not any of this. Is there any difference?
No.
So the only determining factor about the seeming to be some of this or a part of this versus not is only that. Because what is pure perception? Means uncontaminated by identity or belief in thought. So what we are trying to, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what we are trying to conclude is that besides identification with the thought also, is there something else? Is it something like this?
Besides the identification
With the thought, is there something else which can also limit me in this?
No, but it seems like the desire comes, let's say for any worldly desire, it
Yeah.
comes from the same place where the recognition came that I'm none of this.
Yeah. Does it come from the same place, or does it come from the place where we looked earlier? Where do you see that you're none of this? Is it conceptual?
No, exploration.
Experiential in what way? Intuitively or perceptually?
Experientially, that intuitively, I don't know which way actually, but that whoever is speaking, doing things.
It's very important, my dear, because
Yeah.
to know that I recognize that I'm not any of this changing, or you may even recognize that you're all of this changing, it those are just conceptual differences, is intuitive, but the desire is not from the same place, it is mental. Like I have an intuitive desire, we would call that God's will. You see? And that we must follow. The desire that comes from your heart and uncontaminated by the mind is the holy whisper, or the satsang for yourself that is arising from your heart. You must follow. But if the desire is from here, and most of you have been with me long enough to recognize when it is from here or here, isn't it? So this is important to identify when you say that there is no difference between a recognition that I am not that versus a desire that I may have taking myself to be this body mind. Just see if you can recognize that to be true or false.
Yeah, maybe it's not so solid, but
So
in
try
a
to
way,
not conceptualize right now. See if your words can come intuitively.
what's coming up is maybe that I cannot describe it, and it's not a true program.
It's saying but
Yeah,
intuitively,
but
but
because it's coming probably from time to time, something wants to try to describe it and put it in a question.
okay. Let's go. Let's have a solid question about it.
Again, I cannot, it's probably the sense which I'm trying, whenever I'm in that sense of identification or something, I'm trying to describe. It's not here now, so it's
Yeah, it's difficult. Yes. So I want to clarify one thing, that what we call the sense of identification is the same as saying under the hypnosis of the mind. It's not two different things. Because identification with what? How can you identify with the body? Try to do it. Have a sense of identification with the body. How will you do it? You see? Or a sense of identification with your partner. You see? Try to do it. Or anything.
more like a sense of I'm doing this, I'm doing.
Yeah, have that sense without a thought.
And it probably what's coming out is it's not that I'm doing, but I'm not sure as who I'm doing, but as some sort of entity or something.
Yeah.
But,
A boundless being or a limited entity.
limited.
Try to have that sense without a thought. And I know it may be difficult in satsang, but I'm saying even outside satsang. But the fact that it is difficult in satsang also should tell you something.
Doesn't mean it's not true, but
Exactly. Because if it was true, it would be easier in satsang, not difficult.
I could relate to this
Yeah.
in a way because
Without a thought.
so where I could see where preference is born, there's form, but it hasn't necessarily taken a name yet.
Are you visualizing?
No. This is
What?
because I'm on this school many times you've heard me say energetically feel it. And you're someone that says it must be a thought. And so where I feel many times I see preferences and they haven't taken a thought that's I could actually trace. It's more of just
Intuitive preferences? What do you mean by preferences?
well, in that state of presence, when the person and movements come and you're staying there as the witness, you see
Too fast for me. So, can the person come without thought?
the residues that are felt can still arise.
In the pure perception of the residues, is there a sense of individuality? I agree. Some residue, some
Yes.
energy which doesn't call itself residue, it's just experienced. You see?
Where it's okay, so it's I think this is where identification happens. That they're so close that
Yes.
when
What,
identification is
the perception and the label? Is that what you mean? What is close?
the interest and the disinterest.
Interest with attention or belief? Like interest. Like that? Oh, what do you mean? It's
Say
good
that
to really zoom in,
Okay, say that
because without zooming in, it can seem very broad. So when you say interest, so there can be an interest like, where attention seems to get fixated, we may call that interest. On the other time, we're like, what is this? Oh, 5 fingers, so must be in hand. So that is a different sort of interest to try and understand conceptually
no
so-
interest with attention.
with attention. Okay, so with full attention, now how can we identify? It's good to experiment with it.
When we,
Suppose your attention is fixated on a sensation, maybe we call it a contraction. Is it? Fully fixated.
Mhm.
Okay, so
as soon as it seeks relief,
no, wait. Don't go far. Attention is on it then.
okay, attention is on it, and
Yeah.
there are two routes. This is
Very,
this-
very slowly. Attention is on it. What's next?
Either I relax the attention and have faith in the moment.
Okay, slowly. So, who relaxes the attention? Whose attention under the command of?
It's grace.
Grace,
At this point,
consciousness,
there's no
self, whatever you call it, but it's not a person,
No.
isn't it? So consciousness releases its hold on that particular perception.
Yes.
Yes. So that may happen, or suppose it doesn't. So then,
Okay. The alternative, supposing it doesn't,
Yeah.
there is this pursuit to find.
slow. What do you mean?
there's-
Pursue.
This
Attention
is-
is on
this is
it
where
now.
identity
How do you
takes place.
pursue?
Attention's on it.
Yeah.
Identity
How? What do you mean identity?
goes towards
What
object
do you mean identity?
seeking.
No. What do you mean seeking? Tell
It's
me
effort.
from description, not explanation. Know the
From
difference?
description and not explanation.
Yeah, because explanation means that you already figured out what it is, but I want you to describe to me what is actually
Okay,
perceived.
so let's come back.
Yeah, attention is fully
Attention
fixated
is
on
here.
this.
And we've already, there's one route, which
That's
is the higher
that's
route.
one. Yeah. No, we don't label. It's fine. That's one route. What's the second?
Where somehow attention, it just forms, and there's a wanting to
Attention
change.
forms
there's a want to change.
slowly. So, okay, let's ignore attention forms. So, wanting How is it possible in just looking at it? How is it possible to want?
Well, there's interest. At this point, interest
That is what you're saying, the attention fixation wala interest, not
Okay.
the conceptualization.
Right,
Right?
okay.
So now the interest is being filled because the attention is fixated on that. Now produce a wanting. How to do a wanting?
So you're saying without the conceptualizing.
No, don't jump. Just follow me now. You said that a
Okay.
wanting may happen. Tell me if it's possible. How is it possible? Let's produce a wanting here.
This is desire.
How is it desire? How
It
did
just
it come?
comes.
Your attention is on this. Now something else is coming in attention. What are we saying? Something else is coming in attention? Because perception is possible only with attention.
Mhm.
So then what are you saying? Attention is fixated on this.
Why
And
would
then-
it be fixated on that and not something else?
Okay, so you're saying it's not that much interest then.
But no, it is in this case, in this example,
Ah,
I'm saying
okay,
it's very,
okay.
it's like right
Okay,
here.
okay, so it's fixated. Then how to want now? Because attention is fully fixated like this. How will desire come? What is this desire?
Okay.
What
need
is
your
that
help.
perception?
I need my lifeline. Tell me, how does
Huh?
desire come?
Is it possible without a thought? Like desire something now in pure perception without a thought.
Well, there's a preference.
What do you mean? What is that? What do you mean? What is perceived? What is perceived? That we may call that a preference.
Extreme unpleasantness and an interest
But
in
that's here already, no? This was the contraction.
Uh,
Okay, now preference. How is preference coming? Or desire or wanting or preference? How is it coming? How can you confirm its presence? The presence of wanting or desire.
because there's something formless that's witnessing a subtle form.
Okay, that's where we are. Okay, then.
So that subtle form hasn't taken on like a full-on conceptual thought. But
No,
it's
that's
just
where we are. So now what happened next?
Okay, you need to help me here. I don't know.
I'm proposing, you know what I'm proposing. I'm proposing that
Actually, no.
without identification with the thought, you cannot say there's a grasping, desiring, preference. None of that.
So if I'm
The mind will rush you. Okay, you have to go really slow, really slow.
I don't want to. I really don't
See the
want to miss this.
mechanics of identity. It will make it obscure to you. Whereas it's fully apparent to the master who's telling you that only with attention mixed with belief does identification happen.
So it feels like identification sometimes I just jump into identification and only later on I noticed that I was in the train.
Yes, my dear, but the minute you say seems like, you see, the instant we say seems like, we are already confirming it is false.
Yes. I know
So
it's
then-
false, but I'm just saying how I know that it's false, but how I'm going to
And the mechanics of that seeming.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the difference between what all of us are saying. I am saying the mechanics of the seeming are not possible in pure perception. They need a thought. And you're sort of saying that the mechanics of the seeming, whatever limitation, contraction, individuality, identification, it is possible without a thought.
Because in the
See, because this is what I'm talking about. The mind is the thief which will say, I am not the problem. It is that energy, it is that thing, it is that person, it is that event, it is this pain, it is this whatever. No. The thief is that one which you're on to, and it tries to get you off the trail by distracting you, and many people get distracted for years, maybe lifetimes, just trying to fix their energetic something and this, that, and all that stuff. The trickster is only this one. That's why just go really slow. That's how you checkmate the mind. You see, the mind wants to explain it off quickly. Desire comes. You see? No. How does it come? What do you mean a desire? Slow it down. What's the problem? It's really slowing it down. You see? Because when you slow it down, you will really see through this seeming. You see? That's what I mean by describe and don't explain. Because when you explain, you've already explained it away and bought the mind's version to be true. I want you to have your direct experience about it instead. You see? So don't take the mind's version about anything to be true. You check for yourself.
I've also heard Guruji explain, Guruji Baba explain, how some things are more subtle than the fact. But maybe this is my paraphrasing, but this is how it came in.
Yeah.
And I really relate to that because maybe I think my vocabulary is just
Yeah.
not understanding.
I'm saying that everything that you hear from the master's mouth also, you must make that your lived experience. So show it to me. You will find these things. There will be times where you will not be able to even decipher what the thought is. You know, like that. But we'll come to that. Now just tell me the non-exceptional times. Let's look at those as exceptional times. It just gets away with others. No, like that. You can't. What? No? But suddenly you're just like that. That's okay. We'll come to those. But what about the usual? Don't go with any belief.
Or non-identifying. Is it in full control of consciousness?
Yes.
That's the point I think that I'm trying to make along with thought. That sometimes the identification happens.
Beyond the scope of control of consciousness itself.
Or what is it that it is happening automatically?
Huh?
Or why?
But it has to be automatic. Is that what you're saying? That you have concluded that it is automatic. Now, if it is not consciousness, then who's doing it? Is it like that?
Who wants it?
Huh? Consciousness.
Consciousness wants to identify yourself.
To play, that's why this Leela, Maya, whatever you call it. Huh?
And then to not be identified
It's consciousness.
is also consciousness.
Who wants to play the computer game and spend 20 hours of no sleep and play it? And then who says, I'm getting too tired, I have to stop playing this? I grew up as a kid, I used to play this. My son just told me he's playing Civilization. I said, stop it. Because it's such a time sink. You get into a game like that, like Age of Empires or Civilization. You can spend days and you're building this virtual civilization and things like that. So who wanted to play it? He did. Who wanted to stop it? He does. Hopefully. Because nobody else is there. You see. Like, what is the option B? If this is a multiple choice question, then option A is consciousness. What is option B?
Who wants?
For any of the who questions, what are the multiple choices? Suppose my throat is very tired today and I say, I don't want to give any full answers. You give me the option, I'll pick one. So 1 is consciousness. 2 is?
Your question.
What is it? 2 is that?
So consciousness can identify, consciousness cannot identify. So in both the state, is there somebody who is witnessing the consciousness?
Yes. Awareness.
Okay.
Which are both the same. One is Nirguna Brahman, one is Saguna Brahman. One is noumenal and the second is phenomenal. But it's just one self. It is I which is am. It is not two.
So even if the consciousness is identified, I'm still present in my awareness.
Yeah, of course.
That's where you are asking us to be.
Yes, in a way, I'm saying that As you're empty of the mind, open and empty, then this is apparent to you. How to be that? So if I say, yes, that's how I want you to be, your next question should be or will be how? So I say, open and empty, or live in God's light, or to let go of all self-will and self-concern, or whatever, based on the resonance I'm getting at the moment.
So when I'm aware, does the consciousness exist or it?
When I'm aware means?
So aware of. So awareness.
There's no change over there.
So consciousness can be identified, or it might not be identified still.
Yeah. Bhagavan said, till I am is what? Consciousness. Till I am, there is no trouble. The minute it becomes I am something, it is all the trouble. That's why I said earlier, I don't know if you heard that all of satsang is to fix this seeming only, not a reality. See? But let's not rush into calling it a seeming, because when life slaps us, we feel slapped. You see? So we must not call it a Leela too early, or Maya too early. You can only call it Leela or Maya when the slap doesn't feel like a slap. Otherwise, we can quickly jump into like a conceptual Advaita. Nothing happens to me, but inwardly.
Can I also check something? So when you're guiding.
Okay, let's slow down. Today is seeming, we'll come to you only. Today is seeming like a bit of a press conference after many days. God is here or no?
Yes.
Let's take a few moments. The front row is the key. They don't have any questions. I'm looking at their faces right now. Yeah, Shiv is the exception to all things. Okay, let's go.
It's not really clear, but I'm sorry. So when you were guiding us earlier, you said you have two options. Either stay where you recognize, or don't go there. I mean, you know,
I said like that?
Yeah, well, you said don't go to the mind to find out. Stay in the recognition
Yeah.
where you did recognize. Don't go to the mind to ask,
Yeah.
find that answer.
Yes,
to it.
to make it an understanding.
Yeah. So that was I had been struggling with it. So just following whatever. And then I realized that's and I see when I'm trying to that
This process now is recognition or understanding?
it's understanding.
So stop
Full
that.
on. Full on trying to understand what happened and why did I believe that thought and how did I believe this thought.
That's exactly what you were saying. That the guidance was to stay with the recognition and not the understanding. And we want to understand that also in some way. So don't need to do that. Just recognize.
So it feels like if you understand, next time we'll do it better.
Yeah, that's the fraud.
Yes.
That's the trick. To still give conceptual value to that which is nothing.
Just see.
It seems so sincere.
No,
the need to understand.
It
Because we feel like that's what clarity is. I was asking him earlier, what is clarity? We feel like we'll come to a perfect conceptual notion or a framework of everything, and that is going to be my freedom. I'll keep it like that. But nobody ever comes to that. It is not possible. It's the leaky roof which will always leak no matter how much you plug it. Not going to happen.
One day you said this line, I don't need you to be either convinced or confused.
Yes. And confused actually is better. Because confused means that you don't have that much allegiance to your mind. So if you're going to pick between the two, confused. Okay, Shiv.
Yeah, this we're doing the describe, don't explain. I remembered something that we did in one conversation. This, so attention goes to a part that I get.
Yeah.
So when we believe it,
Yeah.
like if we have to talk about the description, thoughts come and go.
Yeah.
What do we do to it to believe it?
Yeah, this belief is like a unperceivable force. No? Like you can't perceive that belief is going to it. You can't see that.
Yeah.
And yet the ability to give it assent and truth value is inherent in us as consciousness. You can notice that, isn't it? You can't notice it like you notice it intuitively.
That's what I was saying. I was attempting to
Understood.
say. I mean, I was like you said, you can't recognize that it's gone, but you can figure that you recognize it.
Intuit
somehow.
it.
That's also mine as well.
Oh, good.
Relates to this as well, but I can't really tie together.
Thank you, Shiv. Everybody is fully clear now.
Can you say it again?
Say what? I have no idea.
Take notes.
It's recorded.
There are some 3 recorders.
Ananta-ji, can I bring you back to this
Yes,
point
yes.
and have you? I don't want to. I need help guiding you
Okay.
through this. So, option 1, attention is relaxed and you're in the light of God, not interested in what's happening. Option 2 is attention is here because there's some pull, some magnetism that you can't just relax into God's light. There's
Wait. So God's light is experienced with attention?
No, it's when attention just relaxes.
What if it is fixated? God's light is absent?
No, not in that case.
It's subtle because sometimes it does feel like there's a perceptual quality to the presence, which is fine, like the primordial vibration. But even when attention is fully on something, it is still apparent to us.
And God's light, there's a point where God's light is obscured, and maybe this is the point.
Obscured without thought?
It must. So what you're saying is there must be thought.
There has to be.
Okay.
I'm saying there has to be
So
a thought.
So here again,
Yeah,
how
okay.
does thought?
How did thought come? It It'll say, this is not good. You need to get out of this. You're stuck. Whatever.
But maybe okay. So what I'm saying is maybe it doesn't speak in words that I
Okay, let's
understand.
make a deal.
But it's so
You
there's-
get rid of the ones that speaks in words. I will take care of the wordless ones. Deal?
So there are wordless ones that you will take care
I will take care. It's none of your trouble. None of your business.
I'm just trying to make sense of how I experience because I
No,
really,
what is happening is that the mind is telling you that it's not just me. It's not just me. It's not just thoughts. Why are you so keen to convince yourself about that?
good question. Maybe just like I must have a past understanding which I'm afraid might be
No, it's very dangerous to the mind, you see.
a past
What I'm
understanding.
saying is very dangerous to the mind. Because if you zero in on that one, you see, and you're not buying into this one, that energetic, this wordless, this stuff, no, then it has no chance. So you get rid of the one with word. All the other stuff, energetic, wordless, all that subtle, I'll take care of. Deal?
Is the difference that if you are in a state of consciousness or in God's light and you're engaged in any activity, are you saying that if thought is involved, you're no longer in God's light?
If belief in thought is involved, yes. It is a seeming as if I am not.
Because
And the
it's
seeming
also
is very
possible-
potent.
But it's also possible that you are in a state of real bliss, where bliss as in having an intuitive moment. But I'm simply observing a thought and a sound and I'm
Yes.
just there.
Exactly.
So
That's
thought
the,
is involved.
yes, thought is involved means we can be involved with the thought only in two ways: attention and belief. And the exact point I'm making with everyone is that with attention alone, it is not involvement or identification. There's nothing else we can do with the thought. It can get our attention or it can get our belief. Usually both. But without belief,
But if I took a specific example,
Yeah.
if you now made it a bit dark and said it's anxiety or fear.
Yeah.
So you're saying. So is there a difference between belief and engagement? Because they can be two different things. One, if I start thinking about anxiety, it can build on itself, and I may still not believe
Yeah.
in anxiety. So I'm just trying to understand.
yes. So let's also move this to an experiment rather than theory. So wait for the next thought to come. See in what way, besides attention and belief, is there another way to engage, or observe, taste the mechanics of this for yourself, so that it doesn't just remain as a conceptual understanding. Can we try? Just wait for a thought to come. Let's see what happens. You want me to look away? Then make it easier.
The thought that came to my mind was, what is he saying?
What is he saying? And what could you do with it? So obviously you perceived it with your attention. No? Is there anything else you could do with it?
I could think more about it.
So more thoughts could come about it. but just in your attention, or something else is also possible, like an engagement which is deeper.
There could be a layer of underlying, instinct of do I believe or I don't believe.
So that is what I call giving it assent or truth value. You see? So this power is there with you inherently as consciousness, that you can take any narrative, any language, and you can give it, either deprive it of all truth value or give it truth value. That is called belief. So what I'm saying is that independent of how many thoughts come, you'll be bombarded with thoughts. Usually it doesn't happen if you're not giving belief, but even if you are, but unless you log in, as Guruji says, which means believe or identify, you cannot be shaken from the apparency of what you truly are. Sorry, it sounded complicated even as I said it. So, shaken from the recognition of your reality. Only under, and this is what I call the hypnosis. You see, the belief in the thought, then it seems like you can do the reverse experiment. You see, try to believe a thought while still holding on to the self being apparent to you. Try to do that. Believe a thought. You see? Shall we do this? Okay, let's stretch it out. So, right now, fresh. Empty. Forget about everything. Empty. Huh? That you are is apparent. That you are is apparent. And that you're witnessing this amness is also apparent. Don't complicate it. It's very simple things what I'm saying. Just apparent. Now, try to get into a belief about a thought, but hold on to the apparency of this self-knowledge. Don't do the opposite, which is be open and empty. Don't let go. Bite into it with your attention and belief, and still be clear that you are the self.
Your beard is white. I believe it.
Yeah,
Still
then who
God.
are you in that moment of belief? Try to do it again.
Beard is white.
Who are you in that moment?
Still that God thing is there, no? That
It's there, but who are you in that moment? In the grasp, in the grip of belief, identification is bound to happen. Empty of belief, you cannot lose self-knowledge. That's good. I love these experiments. Huh?
Like, can you speak about the Nirguna aspect
Yeah.
that you said?
Yes.
And what exactly is called the self?
The self is both. Self is all there is. Brahman is the self, is the way at least I use it. Is Brahman, which is Nirguna and Saguna. Now, remember that these are not real categories. In fact, there is no real or unreal. But that which is aware of my being is empty of all attributes. But for being itself has the primordial vibration of beingness. And within that primordial vibration of beingness, all the other vibrations are also perceived. So that is the Saguna aspect.
So Saguna is the awareness. Awareness is the
Again, yes, pure awareness as we call it is empty of all attributes.
Coming back to the thought which you said, you can either attend to it and the belief. I'm not getting the belief part.
Yeah.
Belief in the thought.
Yes.
Trying to say.
Yes. The thought by itself doesn't have much power. No? So the thought could come and say, my house has a pink unicorn in it. You see? So it crosses your head and you don't give it any value. Another thought comes and says, I'm just not getting this. No? What you do to that, which is different from what you do to the first. Is it just about attention? If it was just about attention, both would just come and go. The other is grasped in what way?
Then rethink again and again on that.
Even if it came only once. Okay, although it does happen that you rethink it, but let's say it only came once. Is there another thing we think? That's called
Giving value.
huh?
Giving value.
Giving value. You see? So, if it was just about attention to thought, everybody's attention is the same. No? So, if a thought crossed your mind saying, I'm a horrible mother. Yeah, it's gone. There's no this thing. But if there's a mother here and she gets the thought, I'm a horrible mother, that may have. You see, it's not just about attention because both give it attention. What did the lady who was a mother give to it which you did not give? It's worth exploring because in this simple mechanics, you see, which we don't really look at, we should start to look at this at a much younger age, saying all of us experience these thoughts. Attention is the light of perception, but what differentiates one thought over another for me? You see? So if you have a particular line of business and a thought came about that, if you just start this will happen to it, it may become much bigger, then that may be attractive to you. But for one who's like a sadhu, that thought crosses the mind. You see, thought is the same, attention is the same. But what is that? You see, it becomes part of our. So what we calling interest mostly is that which has already been nurtured by our belief and has become part of our persona. When thoughts come about that theme, they seem to be more attractive for our belief. But most of us feel that we are not doing anything with our thoughts except give it attention. Not just with our attention. You may stare at the thought, but just by staring at it, nothing happens. This is worth exploring.
So in Shiv's example, though, it was possible for him to have seen a white beard and just be neutral about it and be in a
Seen, yes. That's what I call pure perception. But think, no.
So
You
as you
think
said
me,
white,
believe. Huh?
as soon as you said white, are you not seeing valid?
That's what I'm saying. So you may perceive it. You see, like perceiving process of drinking. I'm just putting the label so that I can communicate. All can happen in pure perception. I don't need to say there's a cup with tea, and then so life can unfold very naturally in that way.
I could have the thought of you, the thought could go by my mind, Ananta
Yeah.
has a white beard,
Yeah.
and I don't believe it.
Yeah.
And so in his case, maybe just the belief factor is so low that it doesn't seem to obscure
But
there's no real belief in it, just a thought.
but the mildest hypnosis of belief
The mildest.
gets you in a mildest way gets you to take yourself to be an object, is it? Or limited in some way.
How do you retrieve from that? The mind just
It's done.
just be.
Don't repeat it. You see? The moment takes care of it. You start open and empty now. And then the offer comes again, take yourself limited. Whatever it may be saying, the offer is to take yourself to be limited. If you don't do that, the mind is itself in God's creation, designed to seem like God's creation, God's light is non-existent. It's like any good game programmer or a movie producer will try to make you forget about yourself and relate to the character in the game. You see, that's why the narrative is there in the game. Suppose the game started and there is some characters there and you don't know which one you are, what you're meant to do, what your mission is. Nothing, no value in that. Where it tells you you are a secret agent, your job is to rescue the ambassador of Britain or something like that. Then you and is that game fun if you buy none of the narrative?
Would you say the mind is, are you putting also the brain and the intellect in the same bracket of the mind?
Any conceptual knowledge that includes,
Conceptual knowledge.
that means
Which
that
you need to use in your daily life also, or no?
no.
Like say you are giving a mathematical problem which you have to solve.
Yeah.
You need your intellect or your brain to solve that.
Yeah.
So,
Try doing it intuitively. That's how you'll become like a Ramanujan. So Ramanujan did not have switch over to intuition. That's so if you switch over to your intuition, then the mystery of how this is a big mystery, about Ramanujan, mathematics. Like he didn't have access to the best teachers, he didn't have any tools, nothing, and he was solving things which people were marveling at his technique. And he said, he's just doing it empty. So same with Einstein. He said that you may try and try and try and try. It's only when you let go that the greatest discoveries come to you. And then even the Archimedes, they just went to the water. Okay. I'm not saying use this. I'm not giving these examples so that you find a cheat code to life. Like, that's very cool now. It doesn't work that way. You can't use it like that. So, but everyone, the best sports people, they'll say, "I'm in the zone." What does it mean? I'm in the zone. I was not thinking. I was just meeting it as it was. They will say.
Father, that's when we stuck with a problem, mathematical problem.
Yeah.
When we sleep and then we wake up in the morning, we
Many
find
times
the
they have
solution.
that. It's best we forget about everything I just said, because everybody want to become like the best mathematician, sportsman, scientist. It's not for that. What is the highest that you can come to? The discovery of the truth, which is beyond that which comes and goes. If you want to use it, then use it for that. Try to use it for that.
I heard you turn towards me. That's why.
Attaching or identifying with the thoughts, right? As I'm totally lost, trying to think. Right? And then there's one state of one thing. And there's another state, like I'm too much involved in a game. Or I'm so much involved that even that thoughts, identifying with thought is also not there.
Yeah. But now, I think too much, you're trying to solve it for a non-existent one. No?
So to go get out of this.
Who are you trying to help in this?
Let me use 5 seconds.
Okay.
I try to use these means because I'm not comfortable here when I'm identified. So I try to use these means to get rid of.
So I is who?
It's my mind. And if it is tired of being attached.
Yeah. And just right now open and empty.
There is nothing. But I'm realizing that why I keep on going there.
You try to come to an understanding of it. something's coming up to say it is that we've tried it our way for a long time. Something mustn't have worked that brings you here to this absurd sort of place. No? So now try it my way a bit. Don't use your now newfound spiritual knowledge as a way to make my way work. You see, this is the final piece of the puzzle. My whole life will make sense now. That's not what this is for. It is to deconstruct you fully. And that is what, if you get frustrated in satsang, that is the tension at work. You see, you're trying to fix the final piece of the puzzle, you know, but the master keeps contradicting himself. It doesn't fit. And the voice speaking from here is trying to make you empty, die to yourselves. So these opposing impulses cause the frustration and stress as we are in satsang.
Although I feel all our life we've given mind a chance.
Yes.
Why not give this a chance?
Yes, exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Very good.
Also coming to satsangs like this is actually you're trying to sharpen your conceptual thinking, but finally you have to be in that God's light or do so. What do you go out of the satsang and do at home or at the other places? I mean,
Yeah.
this is just brainstorming and conceptual thinking. You're not actually practicing being in the God's light, or you want maybe, but few moments here and there. So, what do you advise that when you go back home or in your daily life, how do you actually practice this?
Just be like that, open and empty. Let the thoughts come
Keep
and
on
go.
remembering that and make the habit kind of.
That helps. It can feel like effort initially. Like you may say that, I took that example with you earlier also, where I was saying that if all our life we've been a porter at the airport lifting bags from the conveyor belt, and suddenly we were out of a job or we retired, then because all our life we've done it, it may take some effort to try and stop. Remind yourself, no, I'm not, I've retired. You see, I've retired from this. So for a while it does feel like effort for most of us. You see, and as long as it feels like effort, we must put that effort in.
You consciously
Yeah.
try to
Yeah.
more.
But remember that putting that effort does not involve feeling guilty or unworthy for the times that we have failed. You see, otherwise many times we get into that trap. Because then that's further lifting the bags from the mind's conveyor belt. You see? I was not supposed to do that, then we lift that. I will never succeed at this. This is too difficult. You know, all these things we keep lifting. So the minute you spot it, you stop it. You know, you stop.
But it could be done in a silence also this thing, or it should be done in the while you are doing your routine.
Whatever life brings to you, as you open and empty, you cannot identify there's such a one who is there, who has a routine. All of that is we cannot fit this into a template of any individual's life.
It's not a 1 hour of meditation you do and get into the. It's not.
If you find that, I was saying the other day that don't leave your bed till you come into God's presence. You see? So, which means that in your case, the translation could be don't leave your bed till you find yourself open and empty. So, if you feel like something helps, listening to a bhajan helps, or whatever makes you feel open. There are thousands and thousands of spiritual techniques. If you feel like you need something, otherwise, if it's naturally. Don't leave home without it. Don't leave home without it, because you will cause trouble for yourself and everyone around you. Leave home as God's light.
Now we can talk about desire, Father.
Now you can.
Guruji, you always talk about that your work is only in that moment.
Yes.
Can you revisit that?
Yes, your work is just in this moment to let go of your next thought.
And not feel
Not?
and not feel guilty of the last moment.
That will also come because of your next thought.
Yes.
Can't feel guilty with just pure perception. You may feel angry, you may feel fearful, but you can't feel guilt, pride, remorse, regret, false humility. Without a thought, you can't. Hey, today feels like satsang from many months ago. You're saying that all that was this is better.
So coming back to that, when he said your beard is white, so pure perception, yes. But even just saying the beard is white, there's no belief in it. It's just that's okay.
So what happens when you believe a thought? You have to check for yourself. What do you take yourself to be? It may be the mango is green, the coconut is ripe, whatever.
What do I take myself
Yes.
in that moment
Yes.
when that thought?
Yes, which may seem like so harmless.
Yes.
It doesn't sound egotistical. But notice that as soon as you believed a thought, have you bought into like a limited identity? And you notice that you do, but even more so, what will happen is that usually when we start buying into thoughts, you know what happens? The mango is green. Oh, I used to love green mangoes as a kid. Huh? So very quickly the whole narrative spins towards making a person out of us. And if the thought is harmless, we don't need a phone call to come from the mind to tell us, oh, the mango is green. Perceive it. Why do you need to perceive? Why do you need to buy a thought? Your perception is already intelligent enough to convey whatever that scene is telling you.
Yes.
Isn't it? He's saying that the thought is harmless. What is the harm if I believe? But I'm saying what is the... No, I'm saying the whole premise of the question was that what is the harm if I buy into this harmless seeming thought? First is that it takes you away from a vibrant taste of the moment itself. You see, because your attention gets dissipated between thought and perception. Secondly, even if you say, okay, in my experiment I found that I don't feel limited in believing a thought like that, then you find that you're just creating fertile ground for more thoughts which are more identity laden to come. And in that harmless seeming thought, you have not received any new knowledge actually. One of the things will happen is that your mind will try to create duality in life by saying, oh, this is okay for satsang, but what about practical life? I can't run my life like that. You see? But you must experiment with that. This much risk at least we have to take. We want to find God at one level, and we're not willing to lose a little bit of money because I make a mistake at work, or some silly thing like that. Then that no risk spirituality is not possible, because the mind will use all this to push your buttons. Doing his ninja moves. See? Huh? Notice? No. Pretty oblivious most of the time. और क्या? और क्या? What else?
I'm just seeing again what does the mind is saying.
Yeah. The only in a way, one mistake that we can pick up from this line of satsang is that we become very self-serving about it. Then we seem very self-serving. Oh, am I this? Am I making progress? Am I getting better? So that is a mind trick which the mind can also play. So don't get into that trap at all. It's not your job to track your progress. None of this is so that you can become something special. All of this is only so that God's light can spread.
We now let's say that light of God it's here, and also the doubt. And the doubt
So
is only
I'll give you a tip.
it's only
You don't say God's light is here. What is God's light saying? Wait, that is too far. Allow it to use quote unquote you as an instrument. Don't rush. Because what you say in God's light will be satsang. What you say in the ego shadow is just mental stuff. So let me hear some satsang from you also. So as I jokingly used to say that we don't wait happily for God as much as we wait for pizza. Even with Domino's, we wait happily for half an hour. God, not saying anything. Why is this? Huh? Good one. But you heard it many times. Yeah.
Are you training yourself to not be obsessed with the results, or like motivate yourself without seeing anything?
Yeah. So that's why I was saying that coming to satsang like this is helpful because you get a taste of how it is. You get a reminder often. So satsang is helpful. If you feel like it is not natural to you to just let go of your thoughts. Many will just find it natural to say, okay, open and empty. But many won't as well. So you have to find what you feel works for you. Is it some music? Is it some chanting? Is it some meditation? Is it some physical, like hatha yoga, pranayam? All of that is designed for this. Oh. Say again, maybe?
You just experiment with all these things and you find something that
If you feel like it doesn't come naturally, then already if I was to ask you, where do you find yourself most peaceful? Then you can contemplate that question. And the best part is that all this will reveal itself to you as you have this in your heart, you have this, carry this intention in a way in your heart. Then the next step always becomes clear.
So are you saying you should seek things that make it easy for you to facilitate being in that state of mind?
Yes, initially it's important in that way to make that effort to find that which makes you open, find that which keeps you empty. Self-inquiry, surrender. For those who are atheistic in temperament can also try self-inquiry. They don't have to start with trying to be devoted to God or something like that. So self-inquiry is just to ask yourself, who am I? Sincerely. Who am I?
What you did in the beginning.
Yes, somewhat like this. But actually you can just start with, who am I? And then if a thought comes, then you can ask yourself, who witnesses this thought? Who witnesses this thought? But important is just the sincerity in the question. Like, do it like you sincerely are asking, what is the way to Indranagar? Like, otherwise people do it with a sort of a pretense about it, like they make it like a mantra or something. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Not like that. Really? Who am I? It's a very important question. And because you cannot find the answer conceptually, it'll pull you into the heart.
You mentioned the witness part. Who's the witness
Yeah.
on this? I'm not clear.
Yeah. So that you exist is a sense of existence or a sense of beingness. Yes. Now you, which is aware of even that existence. Yeah. I know we're taking a lot of steps today, but it's good. So that is aware of even that existence. Can we call it existent or non-existent? It is beyond being and not being. I'm seeding all the answers in you so that they may flower in your own looking. That which is aware of beingness and not beingness. That which is aware of even a state of deep sleep, where nothing is, but it is. कुछ नहीं भी नहीं था, that one. वही था, वही था. Where not even nothing is, only he is. One says, may I ask for your blessings to have a job which is in full support of my attending and being in satsang according to the will of God.
Father, you tell us about the fifth.
That's it, basically, the fifth. If I could tell you about the fifth, it would not be the fifth today. How to tell you? I can tell you about the first, it is true. Tell you about the second, it is false. Tell you about the third, it is both true and false. Tell you about the fourth, which is neither true nor false. But the fifth, what can I tell? Sadhguru Shri Muji Baba ki
Jai. Jai.
Guru Kripa Kevalam.